He begged doctors to remove the devil face on the back of his head. When they refused, tragedy followed. Some stories are so grotesque, so disturbingly human, that they claw at the imagination long after you've heard them. This is the legend of Edward Mordrake, a 19th century English nobleman whose beauty was marred by a second face. A face described as lovely as a dream, hideous as a devil. A parasitic visage that sneered when he smiled, wept when he laughed, and whispered to him in the dead of night. Edward was, by every account, a gifted and intelligent young man. He came from aristocratic blood, cultured, musically talented, described as possessing rare charm. But this elegance masked a dreadful curse. Behind him, quite literally, lay a companion he never asked for. A face that seemed to move of its own will. Where Edward played music, the second face grimaced. When he tried to sleep, it was said to whisper blasphemies, things only spoken in hell. He begged doctors again and again, remove it, cut it away, destroy it. Crush the devil face, or let me die, he is reported to have said. Yet the medical knowledge of his time was primitive and perhaps also fearful. Surgeons refused. Priests advised prayer, not knives. Neighbors whispered. No one could give him peace. Finally overwhelmed, Edward swallowed poison and ended his life. He was just 23 years old. In his note, he begged that the second face be destroyed before his burial, lest it continues its dreadful whispering in my grave. But here is where myth and medicine collide. Because the story of Edward Mordrake never appeared in medical journals, or in parish records, or in the rolls of nobility. His tale was first published in 1895 in a sensational American newspaper, the Boston Sunday Post. A writer named Charles Lewton Hildreth filled the pages with lurid accounts of human freaks supposedly drawn from a mysterious Royal Scientific Society. That society never existed, and yet the story took on a life of its own. Only a year later, two respected doctors copied it into their compendium, Anomalies and Curiosities of Medicine, as if it were fact. From there, it spread like wildfire, repeated and reshaped until it became a legend. Rumors grew in every direction. Some swore Edward's other face could mutter obscenities, even laugh with a faint, shrill voice. Others claimed it never spoke aloud, but Edward alone heard it. A private torment, a devil bound only to him. There were whispers of how it twisted his relationships. Could a man so cursed ever find love? Some imagined him avoiding intimacy entirely, retreating into music and solitude. Others spun darker tales, that he did take lovers, but that the second face wept in jealousy, cursing his partners, mocking his most private moments. In the age of Victorian spectacle, the story was irresistible. London's drawing rooms gossiped. Was Edward a recluse locked away by family shame? Did he father children who carried the hidden curse? No evidence exists, but imagination supplied what history did not. Medical speculation added more weight. Some compared him to real cases of diprosopis, a rare craniofacial duplication where two faces merge on one skull. Others to craniopagus parasiticus, where a parasitic twin remains attached. These real conditions can produce uncanny appearances, but they do not whisper, laugh, or plot. That detail was pure nightmare, and it was what made Mordrake unforgettable. Modern believers point to echoes in folklore. In some cultures, tribes painted eyes and mouths on the back of their heads to frighten predators. An instinctive fear of being watched from behind. Could Mordrake's second face be an exaggerated echo of this ancient dread? Online, his legend thrives. Wax museums crafted grotesque busts. Photoshop produced false photographs. Grainy and disturbing, passed off as authentic portraits of the young nobleman. On Reddit, debates rage. Could a second face function? Could it cry? Was it real flesh or just a cruel trick of rumor? Some insist there must have been a real man, twisted by rare deformity, whose story was amplified by horror-hungry reporters. And then came the modern resurrections. In 2003, singer Tom Waits immortalized Mordrake in the eerie ballad Poor Edward. In 2014, television brought him back in American Horror Story, Freak Show, as a spectral judge of the grotesque, a man cursed to collect freaks for his eternal company. Each retelling added layers until Mordrake became less a man and more an icon, a symbol of hidden torment and the monsters that live in the shadows of our own bodies. Yet the most unsettling part of all is this. Edward Mordrake likely never lived. He was ink on paper, born of a single sensational article, carried into legend by repetition. A hoax, yes, but one that tapped so deeply into human fear and fascination that it became immortal. Because the story isn't really about Edward at all. It's about us, our terror of the double, our dread of being watched by something we cannot control, our fear that the worst voice we will ever hear is not the one outside us, but the one whispering in our own skulls. So imagine yourself before a mirror. You smile, but in the silence behind you, another mouth curls into a sneer. You laugh, and behind you, another face cries bitter tears. You whisper your secrets, and something unseen repeats them back in the dark. No wonder Mordrake's legend endures. No wonder it haunts us still. Edward Mordrake may never have existed, but the fear of him, the image of the second face, that is all too real. And perhaps that's why we keep turning our heads, glancing over our shoulders, wondering if something is watching, waiting, whispering, just out of sight. But Edward Mordrake's story is not the only one that shocks the imagination. Have you heard about the man whose body grew bark-like growths, turning his hands and feet into twisted roots? Click here and discover the haunting story of the so-called tree man next.